ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Mantras are written in English alphabet for achieving best Vedic knowledge distribution. Message to treatise readers. For the creation of any object, there must be a cause. So, behind the appearance of this universe, which is the effect, there must be a cause. Say a father and mother combination. Let the father, provider of the seed, be called Purusha, and mother be called Prakriti. Are both Purusha and Prakriti permanent? Did they come into being together? Is the changing Prakriti getting superimposed on the permanent Purusha? The final answer that the Vedic sages arrived at for these important questions by pure logical reasoning, each in his own way, is the following. Ekam sat vipraha bhahudaha vadanti. Oneness is truth. Wise men interpret it differently. Only a man who believes in this truth, or at least this could possibly be the truth, may fully benefit by reading this treatise. For any perceiver eye, the two paths are available. They are natural path, which is outward looking from unity to diversity, leading to Rita, is known as southern path, is limited by his ego, mind and 5 sensory organs, and by following which one can perceive only the 3 aspects of Vedas: Adhibhautik, Adhideivik and Adhyatmik. Truthful path. This is inward looking from diversity to unity, leading to Satya. This is known as the northern path and beyond the comprehension of Ahambhava, the mind and sensory organs. Only each Rishi tends to explain it in his own symbolic language. In other words, all suktas in the symbolic language are not to be treated based on superficial meanings of the words. Example, Suktam 7.55. And hence they are not easily comprehensible without oral instructions. The perceiver eye must lose himself to attain the 4th state. In conclusion, secret of the perceived universe as revealed to the scribe by the universal impeller can be stated in modern terminology as follows. As a reflected image of Atma on Mahamaya, universal ignorance, spiritual Soma, unreal witnessing self, moving from one living body to another, and Indra, the universal Jivatma, appeared. Body attached Jivatma is a reflection of the moving self on the Ajnana mirror associated with the body. Experience I, born from Jivatma, as its reflection on this body attached Ajnana mirror. The universe that this I experiences is the impression formed on his mind, which is in communication with his external sensory organs. Thus, this diverse universe came into being from the state of oneness. des- desiring the welfare of all, the treatise written by the scribe to set a new trend and direction in Vedic studies based on present-day methods of analysis and synthesis. What the scribe, who is by profession a teacher and a research development engineer, trained in different branches of engineering and science, learned from a study of the Rigveda is the following. In the present-day phraseology, Rigveda can be considered to be a depository of four kinds of knowledge: gross world, natural phenomena observed by the sensory organs, adhibhautik; the subtle world, interpretations of observed phenomena and attributing it to imaginary divinities, adhideivik; 3. Causal world, conceiving of Soma and conferring on him the sole causership of nature, adhyatmik; 4. Birthless state, the permanent state on which this changing nature is being superimposed. In this treatise, suktas have been categorized under these four heads. Oneness or birthless Brahman alone is permanent beyond space and time. Prakriti or nature is a collection of infinite diverse forms made of inert matter, each one, whether living or non-living, exhibiting its own individual nature for some time and then disappearing. Each one has an identifying name, or the form can be identified or replaced by its name. Names are made up of sounds which are produced by opening, just open, middle position, and closing the mouth, a, u, respectively. The indivisible Om, Vak, the speech, encompasses all the three positions of the mouth. By implication, Om and its constituent sounds correspond to the four aspects of the Rigveda mentioned earlier. This fact is not properly appreciated by commentators of Rigveda till now. What keeps all living creatures alive must be the same one only. That spirit which can be matter must be birthless, which cannot be matter must be birthless. Since it has no associated material body, it cannot also take birth or give birth to other bodies. Hence, all births are unreal. What appears to be born is a heterogeneous mix of a material body and a spirit which is non-matter, and as such cannot be bound to the body. As the last word, Rigveda seems to say to the scribe, Vedayana, you are under the impression that you have written this treatise. May I remind you and the readers of this treatise once again that my essence is Ekam Sat. You and others are no different from that universal impeller. Duality in the form of experiencer and the experienced is a superposition on that birthless state. Above all, remember this: form-based manifestation of Atma is the universe, and its name-based representation is Om, Rigveda. This answers the question which we start the forward. The top figure corresponds to form-based Vedic knowledge, and the bottom figure is name-based equivalent. Birth birth of this universe from birthless Brahman. Oneness is truth. The universal impeller is one only. That one is covered by a cloud-like ignorance layer which is obviously unreal. However, this cloud layer carries not minute particles of water, but the spiritual essence of water, namely flowing property of water. Rays of spiritual light of Atma move rapidly with the speed of mind in the cloud-like ignorance. One such ray, which is real, picks up the unreal flowing property of water present in the cloud and becomes one shining drop of spiritual Soma, shining with the spiritual ray of Atma and not by physical light. Each drop of spiritual Soma, because of its association with the unreal flowing property of water, consists of a real part, spiritual ray of Atma, and the unreal essence, flowing property of water. The unreal part of Soma makes its appearance as Indra, universal manifested self or universal Jivatma, and individual, innumerable Jivatmas, which are continuously moving from one body of living being to another, bestowing perceivership on one living being at a time. Indra also bestows existence on infinite diverse perceived material forms, subtle as well as gross. The real part of Soma provides unreal moving witnessing self for each living form, and it only bestows existence and consciousness on Jivatmas and the bodies of living beings made of subtle or gross matter. The wise sages accomplished or arrived at the explanation of the unreal birth of this universe and the laws of nature, Ruta, associated with it from Satya, the state of oneness. In this way, as stated in Suktam 10.90. They must have soon come to logical conclusion that the real birth is impossible in the state of oneness. So, for accomplishing the sacrifice of creation of the universe, or rather its explanation, an unreality element is necessary to be introduced by way of an unreal ignorance, which implies existence of mind, or the concept of an unreal moving witnessing self, namely spiritual Soma, flowing essence of Atma. Indra conceived of this universal manifested self being a reflection of Atma on the mirror of ignorance or mind, cannot be a possessor of real spiritual rays of Atma. This is what one can logically infer from Mandalam voice study of Rigveda. Rigveda is known to be a depository of 4 kinds of knowledge in an order of increasing subtlety or level of abstraction. They can be categorized as gross observed world, natural and physical scientific phenomena, the subtle world attributing this phenomena to imaginary entities, the causal world identifying the primary cause of creation as spiritual Soma, and fourth, the permanent, immortal state of oneness, truth. These 4 categories have a one-to-one correspondence with the 4 padas of Om. A, U, Om. Birth of this universe from birthless Brahman order can be seen from the flow diagram shown here. What are Vedas? They are said to be a fountain of all kinds of knowledge, objective as well as subjective. Literally, the word Veda means knowledge, true knowledge. Historically, Rig Veda is a collection of knowledge acquired by the great sages of the Vedic period and handed down from one generation to another by word of mouth for many centuries. This consolidation must have taken place by the end of the Vedic period, or consolidation marks the end of the Vedic era. At this point of time, one can look back and make only an intelligent guess regarding the origin of the Vedas. At the outset, it should be remembered that those sages were highly intelligent, dispassionate men dedicated to knowledge of all kinds. In other words, they can be considered as the great scientists of those days, but without any personal ambition for gaining fame or money. A scientific study, whether in the early days of human civilization or even now, proceeds from an observation of an event occurring in nature. It makes an impression on the so-called outer mind of the observer, which is in communication with the external sensory organs. If the observer is intelligent, he starts thinking about what he has seen, trying to find out the cause of the observed effect. This deduction activity takes place in that part of the mind which can be called the inner mind. Based on the impression of these two minds, that intelligent person comes up with appropriate generalized laws and theories. This three-level mental activity should have been going on in the minds of those intelligent sages of the Vedic period also. When they tried to explain these observations to the common man, they must have found that only a few could understand the scientific aspects of natural phenomena. Even now, majority of people, including students, find it difficult to comprehend scientific facts properly. Consequently, they must have been forced to bring in extranatural divinities for making the common man understand the natural phenomena that goes on all the time around them. In other words, natural phenomena were told to be gifts of these divinities to living creatures on the earth. The sages must have reasoned that if one thinks this universe is to be real, then he might logically believe this to be a creation of a supernatural divine being. Based on this reasoning, they identified many divinities with appropriate qualities who are responsible, supposed to be, for the different phenomena taking place in nature. To put it differently, each phenomenon of nature is said to be a gift of its presiding divinity, desiring the welfare of all living creatures on the earth. For example, Agni is said to be presiding deity of energy, Usha of dawn, and Vayu of air. Varuna is identified with water, Indra with manifested self, etc. Thus, Adhidevic explanation of natural phenomena became a part of the Vedas. However, an Adhidevic explanation could never have satisfied the sharp, inquisitive minds of the ancient sages. They must have observed infinite diverse forms appearing, each one exhibiting its own nature for a fixed time and then disappearing. They must have asked themselves such questions as, from where do these objects come to make their appearance and where do they go on their destruction? If there is a creator for this universe, who created the creator? If a permanent creator exists, how does a changing universe takes birth from such a creator, the cause? Who is permanent? If something is born from a permanent cause, how can such a cause be still permanent, since births involve changes which are indicative of impermanency? Thus, they must have argued within themselves to come to the conclusion that oneness is truth. Pravritti nature has no existence independent of Purusha. Thus, Adhyatmic knowledge also forms a part of Rigveda. From the above discussion, it should be clear that Rigveda must be a depository of three kinds of information: objective knowledge of gross objects, Adhidevic knowledge about subtle objects, Adhyatmic or self-knowledge. Moreover, since early perceptors of Rigvedic mantras lived many centuries before the Yajnik period, Yajnik interpretations of all mantras cannot be considered as true interpretations. The script is written keeping in view the following principles. While writing the prose order, changes in the mantras shall be kept to a minimum. Because Rigveda is considered as an impersonal document, names of mortals should be kept out of the treatise as far as possible. As far as possible, word meanings are to be picked up from references. When they are not found, then only they are to be derived from their roots. Many important words can carry three kinds of meanings: Adhibhautik, Adhidevic, and Adhyatmic. In fact, only by making use of these different meanings, the three different interpretations of Rigveda can be arrived at. For easier understanding of the treatise, a glossary of the most commonly used word may have to be compiled in due course. In a few cases, the prose order may have to be changed slightly for getting the three different interpretations. For some readers of the treatise, comments on many rigs may not be sufficient for comprehension. If further clarifications are found necessary, they can be added on at a later stage. This treatise is mainly intended to set a new direction to the study of Rigveda. Finally, the scribe of the treatise does not claim to be a scholar in Sanskrit or in Vedas. In writing it, his mind and body simply obeyed the commands of the promptings of an inner voice, the universal impeller.